Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, text number 35. Teshamiti ritamubhavavadharya goram tam brahma dandam anivaranamstra pugai sadyo hareranuchara urubhibhyatastat padagrihavapatatamati katarena. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. When the doormen of Vaikuntha Loka, who were certainly devotees of the Lord, found that they were going to be cursed by the Brahmanas, they at once became very much afraid and fell down at the feet of the Brahmanas in great anxiety. For a Brahmana's curse cannot be counteracted by any kind of weapon. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although by chance the doorman committed a mistake by checking the Brahmanas from entering the gate of Vaikuntha, they were at once aware of the gravity of the curse. There are many kinds of offenses, but the greatest offense is to offend a devotee of the Lord. Because the doormen were also devotees of the Lord, they were able to understand their mistake and were terrified when the four Kumaras were ready to curse them. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So we are seeing here the four Kumaras who were checked by the two doormen of Vaikuntha from entering the Vaikuntha Loka, and they were angry and they cursed the two doormen, and here we are seeing the response. We saw them cursing or considering in the previous verse, and in this verse we see the reaction of the two doormen. Tesham iti iritam ubhav avadharya goram. When they heard that they were cursed to go to the material world, avadharya goram, they understood what a grave thing, mistake they have done. Avadharya goram. Tad brahma dandam anivaranam astra pughaihi. And they also realized, they became fearful about Brahmadandam, the curse of a Brahmana, which is anivaranam, nivaranam, anivaranam, which cannot be counteracted. Astrapugaihi. One may think that I am very powerful, I have so many weapons. You may have any kind of weapons, but by these weapons you cannot anivaranam. You cannot counteract Brahmadandam. So realizing this, avadharya goram, Brahmadandam, anivaranam, astrapugaihi anivaranam, what did they do? Sadhyaha, immediately, harer anucharav, those devotees who are followers of Hari, urubhibhyatas, full of fear, tat pada grahav apatatam, they fell at the feet of the sages, holding to their feet. Apatatam, fell down. Atikatharena, with great anxiety in their heart. So, when the doormen of Vaikuntha Loka, who were certainly devotees of the Lord, Harer Anucharaha, found that they were going to be cursed by the Brahmanas, Brahmadandam, they at once became very much afraid, urubhibhyatas, and fell down, apatatam, at the feet of the Brahmanas, pada grahau apatatam, in great anxiety, atikatarena. For a Brahmana's curse, Brahmadandam, cannot be counteracted, anivaranam, by any kind of weapon, astra pugaihi. So, we can see here, and Prabhupada has mentioned, because they were themselves devotees, they understood how grave, ghoram it was to have offended the sages, and the sages becoming upset with them and cursing them. So they became aware, they understood avadharya goram, they understood what a grave mistake they have committed. And they became fearful, urubhibhyataha. And they fell at the feet of the Brahmanas, atikatarena, with great anxiety. And so, what was the curse that the Brahmanas, the sages had pronounced on them? That we saw in the previous verse. Lokanito vrajatam. Go to the material world. So that was the curse about which they became very fearful. They became very anxious. So in other words, when they were told, go to the material world, that was considered to be a curse. So now we should understand, we are all here in this material world. What people of the spiritual world, how they estimate this world. This is a world where people, when they are cursed, they go there. Right? But we think this is a very wonderful place. Maybe some things are not all right. We will fix it. In course of time, we'll fix it and we'll make it a very good place to live. In Indian government language, there is one expression, punishment posting. If some IAS officer, bureaucrat, they don't cooperate with the politicians or something, then the politicians will transfer them to Andaman Nicobar Islands. And that's considered to be a punishment posting. So in the same way, this material world is considered to be a punishment posting for those living entities who are not willing to cooperate and be in harmony with the spiritual atmosphere. If we want to estimate, so in this way we have to look at how this world is estimated by enlightened sages or by residents of the spiritual world, how they rate this material world. We get a certain understanding from this verse. Just like if you want to know the value of something, say some ornament, sometimes some people drop some jewelry in the hundi. And then when we get that jewelry and we want to make an estimate how much it is. Is it real gold or some imitation jewelry somebody dropped? Now if you want to make an estimation of that, you have to go to a goldsmith. A goldsmith will check out, and then, because he's an expert in that, he will tell you it's worth how much money. So in the same way, we have to get an estimation of anything, we have to go to a goldsmith. If you go to a blacksmith and take a piece of jewelry, you're not going to get very good understanding. So in the same way, we have to get an understanding of this world from those who are enlightened. That is the spirit, that is the perspective that we must maintain about this material world. Because if people who are not enlightened, their views are not very important. That is why when Krishna says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Krishna is using the word, you must approach tattvadarshinaha, those who have seen the truth. In other words, those who are experiencing the truth. Tattvadarshinaha. No use going to an ordinary person if you want to get spiritual knowledge. In this context, Prabhupada also said, we should read books written by Tattvadarshis, those who have actually seen the truth. Very enlightened people. From their point of view, we should understand our life, our situation, our world, everything. Then we will be able to derive benefit from that. There is another verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna refers to the similar thing, that how, actually many times, but in this particular place, Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha gnanagni dhagda karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. In the chapter 4, text number 19, this is same as the Tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. These people are considered to be buddhaha, wise, by panditas. Sometimes somebody may consider them to be a wise man. Right? Like all our parents consider us to be very intelligent. My son is so intelligent. We may not be doing very well, but still our parents, out of love, they may say. So that's not important. We have to, whether we are wise, considered to be buddhaha by panditas, tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. That is important. So Krishna is saying here, Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha gnanagni dhagda karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. In all endeavors, sarve samarambha, in all endeavors, kama sankalpa varjitaha, they have given up the desire for enjoyment, kama, self-enjoyment, or sense gratification. Because in every endeavor, a conditioned soul tries to enjoy. What is it that I can get for my sense gratification? Because that's the nature of the conditioned soul. When we come to spiritual life also, in spiritual life also we will be seeing how I can get some sense gratification. So that's the sad part. That is what we have to be watching out. So, yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha, so they have given up varjitaha, kama sankalpa, that determination or that desire for kama, varjitaha, gnanagni dhagda karmanam, such people who have become free from desire for sense gratification, in all their endeavors, such people have actually burned their fruitivary actions in the fire of knowledge. Which means, Prabhupada points out very nicely, Kama Sankalpa Varjitaha is a result of being situated in Jnana. So, if we are situated in transcendental knowledge, the effect of that is, in all our endeavors, we will not be looking for sense gratification. Conversely, if in all our endeavors we are looking for sense gratification, that is an indication we are not situated in Jnana, we are still in Ajnana. So this is what great learned men consider. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every act is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker, whose fruitive action is burnt up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So, this kind of a perspective, we must have an understanding, we must have an estimation of this material world. What is this material world about from the perspective of enlightened people? And they consider this place to be a place, a most undesirable place when compared to the spiritual world. If we don't have an estimation from enlightened perspective, we will be very misled. Bhagavatam says, there is another verse in the Bhagavatam, Shvavid varaha ustra karai samstutha purushah pashuhu. Samstutaha means to be praised by, to be praised. Samstutah purusha pashuhu. In the material world, sometimes we come across one person praising another person. If one person is praising another person, who is that person who is praising? That is important. Otherwise, the example here given is Shva vidvaraha ustra kharaha. Shva is dog, vidvaraha is a hog, pig, and ustra is a camel, kharaha is a donkey. If these kind of animals, samstutaha, they are glorifying. Oh, he is such a great man. So these kind of animals will glorify another animal only, because that's their perspective after all. So, samstutaha purushaha pashuhu. Another person they are glorifying, he is also like another, he is an animal only. So, the person who is praising must have requisite qualifications. So, if he is qualified, then his estimation, oh, he is praising somebody, he is praising something, that has value. So, we see from the perspective that is presented here in the Bhagavatam about the material world, is that this is actually a terrible place. Constantly the living entities are absorbed in sense gratification. They are completely in harmony, in disharmony with their constitutional position. They are completely in disharmony with the Lord. Although they are part and parcel of the Lord, they are not in harmony. Just like any part of our body, if it is not in harmony with the rest of the body, that part of the body, that organ of the body is considered to be a diseased part. It will be a source of pain for us. So all the parts of the body are meant to cooperate for the whole body. That's the constitution, that is the makeup, that is the way this body is constituted. If any part of the body is not in harmony with the whole body's well-being, then it will become a problem. So just see what is our position in this material world. All the living entities who are not willing to cooperate with the Supreme Lord. And ours is a society full of people who are in this kind of a mentality. This material world is meant for people who are unwilling to cooperate. This is the understanding. And so when this two doormen heard that these sages are cursing us to go there, Urubibhyataha became very, very fearful. Avadharya Ghoram. Oh, what a mistake. What a Ghoram, what a big thing, mistake we have done. They started realizing that. So, this is the conception we must always maintain about this material world. Then we will not become attached. We will not become attached to any particular circumstance, particular situation. We can remain detached, and it will help us to be focused on Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there is every chance that we will become very attached to this material world, not knowing actually this is not a very desirable place. Once in 1974, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter. He had one disciple who had some law background and an educated person. And then Prabhupada was encouraging him to, he was also in a very senior position. At that time he was a GBC. And Prabhupada was encouraging him. Even in an earlier occasion, Prabhupada had encouraged him, after he became a devotee, he should try to participate even in American politics. And Prabhupada had a wish that if devotees can become leaders in the society, and if the society can be changed in that way, then it is a great benefit. So in 1974, Prabhupada writes in a letter, "At the present moment, there is nothing but great calamity. But by injecting Krishna consciousness into the masses, we can change the situation greatly." So Prabhupada saw our material world, modern world situation to be, there is nothing but great calamity. In Kali Yuga, material world itself is a Urubibhyataha, very fearful place. And in the material world, there are phases of time, and Kali Yuga is considered the worst of all the phases of time, of all the yugas. And we are here in this material world. Sometime back, just about 2-3 weeks back, went to a place, a Buddhist place, and then there was a Buddhist leader, and there was a big gathering, Buddhist followers. And then the organizers told us there are 30,000 people here, all Buddhists and following, and from all over the world they have come. Then suddenly it dawned, I was just reflecting, 30,000 people from all over the world practicing Buddhism seriously, they have come and hearing some discourses and all that. And we understand from the parampara knowledge, it is Lord himself who came as Buddha, right? And he gave a certain knowledge. But actually that knowledge is not the highest knowledge. It was a knowledge that was essential for that particular circumstance. Because people were completely misled. And they were not following the real principles of the Vedas. They were completely misled. And so at that time, Buddha came and he had to teach a certain aspect. Because Spiritual learning is a very vast learning. And any learning requires qualification. If one does not have the qualification, you cannot learn higher things. Just like if you want, in our modern day, if you want to do law, you must be a graduate. And after you have done your graduation, then you can go for law. That's the system. Because you cannot appreciate. Legal things are all very complex. A young mind cannot understand that. One has to grow up a little bit and mature, and then can understand legal complications, why law exists, and all of those kind of things. So in the same way, spiritual knowledge also, there is gradation, and there are very advanced aspects of spiritual understanding. And if you have to understand higher and higher aspects of spiritual understanding, it requires higher qualifications. And the whole Vedic program is to gradually build that qualification in the human society over many lifetimes, even if it takes many lifetimes. So not understanding all of these things, there was an occasion, there was a situation in our country, in our world, when people had misunderstood. And so at that time, Lord Buddha appeared. Nindasi yagna videraha shruti jatam. Shruti jatam yagnaha nindasi. And he condemned. He rejected. Why? Sadaya hridaya pashugatam. Out of sadaya, daya, feeling great compassion for pashugatam, for the killing of the animals. Animals were being killed, not understanding the real purpose and why they were killing animals. And when they were questioned, they said, Shruti jatam yagnaha. It is the yagna according to the given in the Shruti, in the Vedic literatures. So they were citing their example. So Buddha said, Nindasi yagna videraha Shruti jatam. So it was a temporary arrangement. And then after Buddha, we understand, came Shankaracharya. He set right several things. And then came many other acharyas. So like that, there was a gradual and progressive development of the spiritual thought, spiritual understanding, and that reached its pinnacle when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Krishna himself came and gave this knowledge. But then, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, 1 or 2 generations after that, 2 or 3 generations after that, again Chaitanya's knowledge, Chaitanya's understanding, what he had taught was also misunderstood. And again there were acharyas like Bhaktivedanta Thakur who had to come and restore that. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur continued the work, and then Srila Prabhupada. So if you see the whole, if you trace this history, last 5,000 years history of spiritual development or spiritual knowledge propagation in the last 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, it has gone through ups and downs, and how it has been gradually elevated. And then Srila Prabhupada has given that highest knowledge in an easily understandable way, and we have come in touch with that. Being in the material world, a place which is actually meant for all those who are not law-abiding, conditioned souls. It's a place where cursed people from the spiritual world are sent here. And for us, we have come in contact with this knowledge. And we are able to, and so if we want to have an understanding of anything in this world about our lives, what should be or how we should act in our life, we should see through the prism of transcendental knowledge given by Srila Prabhupada. Then we will understand things properly, in proper perspective. And the proper understanding is that this is a great calamity. There is nothing but great calamity at this moment. But things can be greatly benefited, can be changed by injecting Krishna consciousness. This was the understanding that Srila Prabhupada always had. This was the spirit of how to look at this material world. And in the material world, we generally act through three things according to Vedic understanding. By our words, we act. Right? By words, we interact in this world. With our mind and with our senses. And sometimes we have all experienced, sometimes we say something and things go wrong in our relationship or something happens and we hurt somebody and then after that we regret, oh my God, my words were not, I shouldn't have spoken like that. Or some emotions or some thinking, through our mind also we sometimes make a mistake. And then or through our senses, we act, knowledge acquiring and active senses. We act and then we regret, oh, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Right? These are the three ways by which we interact in this material world and we can make mistakes in this. So Lord Brahma gives in the Bhagavatam a formula by which we will never go wrong with our words. We will never go wrong with our mind. We will never go wrong with our senses. And he says if we follow this, we will be very safe. What is that? Na bharati menga mrushopalakshyate. Na bharati menga anga mrusha upalakshyate. Mrusha means untruth or false or a wrong path. Bharati generally refers to Mother Saraswati, right? But in studying Vedic literatures, we must see the context and understand. Here the word Bharati means the words, one's words. Na Bharati me anga mrushopa lakshate anga. Lord Brahma is saying this to Narada Muni. My dear, na bharati menga mrushopa lakshyate. My words never fail. My words never go wrong. Na bharati menga mrushopa lakshyate. Navai kvachin me manaso mrusha gatihi. Manasa mrusha gatihi. Mrusha again means untruth. Gatihi means path. Manaso mrusha gatihi. My mind never goes into a mrusha gatihi. Name hrishikani patanti asat pathe. Hrishikani, my senses. Asat pathe patanti. Asat pathe means again an improper path. Name hrishikani patanti asat pathe. My senses will never go astray. How am I ensuring that? That is by, here the word used by in this verse is atikatarena. Hrudautkantyavata druto harihi. Because in my heart, utkantavata druto harihi. Utkanta means similar sense as atikatarena, with great anxiety, with great fervor, I am constantly holding on to the lotus feet of Hari. If we hold on to the lotus feet of Hari with great eagerness, with great zeal, Prabhupada translates that word utkanta. Utkanta is connected to the word Vaikunta. Vaikunta means free from anxiety. Utkanta means with full, not exactly anxiety, with full zeal, with a great deal of fervor. I am holding on constantly to the lotus feet of Hari in my heart. Hrut autkantavata druto harihi. Because of that, na bharati menga mrushopalakshate. Kvachin manaso mrusha gatihi. Name Rishikani patanti asatpathe yat hrudatkantya druto harihi. So this is the formula that Lord Brahma is giving, that how we can ensure in our life our words, our mind and our senses don't go astray. And that is by holding on firmly to the lotus feet of Hari all the time. Holding on to the lotus feet of Hari means always living by Harer Anucharaha. In the spiritual world, the residents are all Harer Anucharaha. They're always Anucharaha. They're constantly following the directions of Hari. That is the position of the pure living entity in the spiritual world. So by doing that, even in this material world, which is great calamity around us, we can be very safe. This is the instruction of the Bhagavatam. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.